So in this final speech, I'm going to give you a roadmap before I start. So this roadmap being that first I am going to talk about all of the issues in this debate that haven't been resolved and why we should win this debate in the context of an affirmative versus negative world. And just to use this framework to discuss like what's been going on in this debate. So what's been going on in this debate essentially is that like there have been these points about like whether or not Social Security is actually going to be better for the people than is raising the minimum wage by a few dollars. And the way that we can tell that our counterplan in the negation is actually going to work better than the affirmative's plan is that first, in the affirmation, you are going to see more poverty because while this is not enough to lift, while this amount of money given as a result of the plan to minimum wage workers is not going to be enough to lift them out of cyclical poverty, it is going to be enough to tax our economy significantly because of the fact that it's going to put so much strain on small businesses, which are going to have to collapse as a result, lose business, and because these are the cornerstones of our economy, this is something that just simply can't happen. And if it does happen, like it will in the affirmations world, people are just going to live in more poverty, and more poverty is bad. And this is one of the reasons that you actually should vote in favor of the negation of this resolution. Another issue that's been coming up in this debate is the issue of kind of discrimination and the marginalized groups kind of affected by the status quo. However, we've essentially refuted the uniqueness on their first advantage, which was this argument that I've just mentioned, because we've showed that it actually doesn't have uniqueness, that the poverty happening in the status quo is actually going to become worse if we enforce the plan because of the small businesses having to collapse as a result. And then again, we're going to see this in the affirmations world, more poverty, lower quality of lives. These are bad impacts, terrible impacts. Now we're going to kind of go on to their point about people living in minimum wage, people living in minimum wage despite the fact that they work several jobs, by this essentially we have, like, our opponent has even admitted that even with several minimum wage jobs, social services, even with minimum wage jobs, working several of them, they would not have the impact of social services because of the fact that social services are streamlined. Now to this, our opponent decided to say that social services actually don't matter and that giving people more food when they already have food is not going to help them. However, with food stamps currently in the status quo, that is not giving people enough food, enough access to good food to even make a difference, which is why we advocate for the counterplan, giving more to social services so that our society can benefit as a result. Now, there has also been this point in this debate about kind of how are we best going to get out of poverty, because both the affirmation and the negation agree on the fact that poverty is a terrible thing. We just have different ways of going about it. Now, the reason why we should win this debate, however, is because we've shown clear net benefits, and these clear net benefits being those of less poverty, like smaller businesses thriving and getting streamlined funds to those who need it. And these are all impacts that the negation world is going to have, whereas the affirmations world is actually not going to share any of these net benefits. In fact, if we enact the affirmations version of the resolution, our society will become increasingly more impoverished, having a lower quality of life. And so as a result, I strongly urge you to vote in favor of the negation of this resolution. Thank you.